Hey guys, how's it going today? Welcome to a brand new episode of KSP. And as you can see, this is a very different style of video. This is gonna be new. This is brand new to my channel, and I'm trying it out. So here we go. What we've got here is we've got the final vessel to be saving, hopefully. Well, yeah, saving Bob and Valentina, who are both now stuck up there. So in the last episode, as you guys saw, we made a mission to Minmus, and we did that so that way we could basically just get RCS thrusters, because those really make interceptions and stuff a whole just a humongous difference. So, as you can see also here, I'm also attaching some other things here. Basically, my thought process is, and this was through a lot of different trials here, a lot of different trials that had failed to saving Bob and Valentina using this exact same vehicle. I've tried aero braking, I've tried a whole bunch of other stuff. Aero braking never worked, and it was definitely the worst of the maneuvers that I tried to do. It resulted in Valentina and Bob burning up in the atmosphere, bulleting through the atmosphere and colliding with the planets, and a couple of other things too. So I thought of a few different things to be successful with this, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and use the EVA building sort of deal. So that's why I had a whole lot of extra stuff that I had built onto it, and here we are on the launch pad. So I basically attached radiators, which turns out that needs electric charge. I guess that makes sense. And as we can see, takeoff is perfectly fine. I did notice though that I had Jebediah, and as you might know, Jebediah is not an engineer, so we're actually going to have to go ahead and revert this launch really soon. Eventually. Maybe not. We definitely revert this launch, but we are making it pretty far up into the atmosphere. So I guess previous Barry has not noticed yet. But yeah, so essentially what our idea is I'm going to be using two of the scaffolding that I brought. There we go. And now I'm reverting. And let's go ahead and get Bob in here, because Bob is the engineer. Very good. Or Bill, not Bob, Bill. We want Bill. And so, now that we have Bill, we're actually going to have a successful mission now, and everything should go perfectly fine. And the other nice thing is we're not on career mode, so we don't have to worry about not having certain things on our nav ball, because that is the case in career mode. So here we are taking off once again, basically doing the exact same things that were previously done, but this time with Bill, who is always worried. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be attaching those, at least this is my thought process at this point. I'm not really spoiling anything. This is literally just my thought process at this point, is attaching the scaffolding to the top of the command module at Valentina and Bob have, and that will hopefully create enough drag so that way when they enter the atmosphere, they're not going to bullet. They're going to instead have their heat shield constantly on the back end, and basically, you know, not burn up and slow down. That's the thought process, at least. And as you can see here, things are going pretty successful. Things are a little inefficient, as you can see. We're actually going a little bit too fast in the atmosphere. When you reach this point, you actually lose a whole bunch of thrust. Well, it's kind of like, almost like thrust to weight ratio, sort of, just because of the air resistance. So you actually lose a whole bunch of momentum that way. So it's not actually recommended if you see the air effects and the heat effects to continue accelerating. In this case, I wanted to continue accelerating so that way we didn't have to worry about any sort of issues with losing control of the vehicle, because I have found for some reason when I'm using the massive solid fuel boosters, I just lose a whole bunch of control of the vehicle. But in this case, everything goes extremely well, and here we are noticing that our Kerbin apoapsis is extremely high, but that should be fine. I think I actually wanted to have sort of a high apoapsis, just so that way we don't need as much fuel to create an orbit. And then we're going to have to do a series of maneuvers and hopefully get an interception with Bob and Valentina, which, you know, doesn't take too much. I did a lot of practicing for this mission as well, because I was kind of clueless on how to do interceptions. And so a couple of the first attempts of this video was me totally not understanding interceptions and just accelerating right past Bob and Valentina and not going so well. But after a couple of practices and trials, I was able to do it pretty successfully, and I was pretty happy with that, and that's when I started doing this attempt. And I basically got it the first try as soon as I knew what I was doing. So go figure, when you practice something, it actually is kind of easy. So here we're just trying to create an orbit. I'm slowing down a little bit just so that way we're getting close to the apoapsis, because that's when you're most efficient. And here we are continuing. I think I was aiming for around 2,000 meters per second, somewhere around there. And I knew at this point that I had to go into the next stage as well. A little worried because I don't like using the fuel that I had planned to get an interception to make the orbit with, but it did turn out to being okay. I also thought this would be kind of a nice view. It turned out meh, but that's okay. So I also at this point didn't set Bob and Valentina as a target for some reason. I should have done this at the very start. And at this point, I'm just waiting for everything to go to the 90, which I should cut right now. There we go. And let's see here. All right, so we've got a 3.4% ascending and descending node, so I'm currently setting up the maneuver to fix that. As you can see, this is sped up footage. This is also kind of another reason why I kind of liked the idea of this sort of post-commentary style, is that it's not going to be broken up where I'm not speaking and I'm still showing everything, but also everything is also a little bit faster. All right, so here we are, about to start our first of a series of maneuvers to just try to get everything aligned properly. So this one's just to figure out the ascending and descending, and then the next one that we will set up is going to be our actual interception area, which is going to happen soon. I kind of try to figure out if this is going to be decent enough. I'm pretty sure, yeah. I just assume that's going to be okay. And here we are, just trying to play around with our interception, and this is always finicky for me. I don't really have a good process of doing this yet, but it'll take some time, I think. But I do actually tend to get it pretty close here. I also will be doing a correction burn after this burn too. This burn, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it got us to around 0.7 kilometers in range of our target. And then once I actually end up doing this burn, it was way off. And so oftentimes a correction burn is going to be really useful, and I end up doing that in this one too. This burn also took so long. I didn't expect this burn to take so long, but it is a very long burn, as you can see. Yeah. So, But let me know what you guys think about this sort of post-commentary style video. I'm not planning on doing it on any other series. I think it's just going to be KSP. One of the reasons why this works out so well for me right now is because my job that I'm currently working at is now night shift. And so that means that I'm basically on a nighttime schedule, and so I basically go to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and wake up around 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and actually that works out kind of well for me. It's actually pretty comfortable, and it's not anything that was particularly challenging to for me to get into. So for some reason I recommend this shift to anybody who's a night owl, but if you're not a night owl, it would probably be terrible for you. But here I am setting up the next maneuver, just to see if we can get any closer. I'm also actually affecting the thrust limiter, if you saw right there. That is to make sure that I don't overdo this maneuver. So I actually plan ahead on this maneuver. I actually burn this around 5 seconds prior to the node, instead of, the 1 second that it says, the 1 second burn time. I just know that it's not going to actually be 1 second, so I actually should start, yes, I start burning at 5, I see what the time is, and I then finish the burn. And that actually worked out really well. I think we were actually able to get really close with this. So yeah, 0.5 kilometers, definitely close enough to get a good maneuver with this. I do make a couple of mistakes here, I acknowledge, but it still wasn't too bad. So as you can see here, our target velocity, well, our difference in velocity is around 474 meters per second. It's pretty speedy. So I'm waiting for us to get closer to our position, and then I'm going to go ahead and burn retrograde. And this is where I got confused in the previous ways that I've tried this. I thought that you had to burn prograde to catch up to the target, but that is not the case. Don't do that. Burn retrograde when you've reached the target, and then you'll start slowing down the velocity compared to your target. And this will just also make it so that you go into an automatic orbit really close to the target. So it makes it really, really easy. I actually really like how KSP has made this sort of maneuvers and stuff really simple. So here I'm also checking our distance to each other, our velocities, and all that good stuff. And here I'm looking for it just to see where it is. So as you can see, we are moving away from it right now. Kind of sucks, because this is actually going to make it so we waste a little bit more fuel than I wanted to. As you can see, I'm having a great time trying to get ourselves on this maneuver node. It is really hard to maneuver for these sort of things without RCS thrusters. I cannot stress that enough. I do not recommend trying to do this without RCS thrusters. I tried it plenty of times, and every single time it failed. So in this case, I'm just trying to use the rest of the fuel in the other system, and then once this is done, we're going to go ahead and I think I actually stage really soon, just because I know that basically if you were to use the RCS thrusters right now, for instance, then that makes it so that you're carrying all that extra mass, and you're trying to push that extra mass with the RCS thrusters, and you're just going to waste a whole bunch more fuel. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try to make it as fuel efficient as possible, because we only have a limited amount of RCS thrusters and RCS fuel. So pretty soon I am going to stage. In this case, so I am going to get closer. I think I might actually do another. I'm actually burning RCS here. That actually was a little bit of a mistake, but I'm not burning too much monopropellant, so it'll be okay. But let's see here. What else happens? Okay, so we're just getting closer right now, 200 meters. So we're getting pretty close to our target. And here we are, just burning some more monopropellant, trying to slow ourselves down. I think I had made a couple of attempts of just trying to stick with the stage, and just getting close to it and trying to put all the all of the parts and stuff like that on it. I was having some problems with this because, as you can see, at the very top, with the grabber, essentially there is a decoupler there, and every single time Bill kept hitting his head on the decoupler, making it so that the whole ship would just go in various different ways, and you'll see that really soon. But I'm actually going ahead and going for a grab here, and it's actually going pretty well. I think, yeah, I don't think this is going to be, this one's successful. I am currently trying to use RCS thrusters to move our, the prograde, or whatever it's called, the whichever one is the prograde on the nav. I also make a quick save here, just for the encounter, and I also made a screenshot as well. I was on a mistake though. And here I am just blowing right past. I don't know what exactly I'm thinking. I think I might be trying to just try to get the tip of their capsule into as close to the tip of our capsule, so that way the grabber kind of fits neatly around it. But to be totally honest, this is a massive waste. I should have staged at this point. It was kind of a mistake. And in fact, I might actually... Okay, there we go. I'm staging now. This is definitely the right call. I should have staged earlier, so that way we could have saved a lot of monopropellant. I'm also changing the thrust limiter too, because I'm planning on using the actual engine that we have now, just so that way we're not using just monopropellant to get close. And as you can see here, I'm also trying to get that the directional, I guess it's theoretically your directional node, to being right over the target, so that way we're heading straight at the target. And as you can see, I'm getting pretty close. I'm also now using RCS. I'm trying to use RCS to either slow us down or trying to make sure that it's, yeah, right there, I tried to slow us down, and EVA. So this is the first attempt, and as you can see, the ship, yeah, that was a nightmare, but I'm going to go ahead and just try to do my best at putting on a solar panel, which actually was pretty successful. I'm pretty happy with how I was able to get a solar panel on there. I don't think I'm going to attempt to put any other solar panels on right now. Going for the scaffolding instead. And I also learned that when you are holding an object, you can't use the RCS on your character. So that was... It's a little annoying trying to move through space like this, and the part will just continue to float away from you. So you kind of have to do a continuous grab and place and change your direction and hit whatever you are trying to attach to. The other thing that I had tried as well when I was testing things, I was trying to test to see if you could fuse like two ships together. You can't, which is very unfortunate. The other problem is if you don't have a ship that's docked onto a ship and it's encapsulated. So in this case, if we had their vessel inside of the grabber and then we were to time warp, then that meant that their ship would start phasing through our ship. And that's just apparently how KSP has done it. And so it doesn't work out that well. So basically, yeah, time warping wasn't really much of an option when I had the vessel grabbed. So I had to try to figure out sort of creative ways to get around that. But the good thing is, at least, is that this vessel had a heat shield. If this vessel did not have a heat shield, this whole mission would have been so much more difficult. And in fact, I don't know even if I would have been able to do it. I think it would be particularly difficult. I also realize they're not really opposite of each other, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix that right now, just so that way the error stuff is actually kind of makes sense. And there we go. And I don't think I put another solar panel on. In fact, I don't even think I put on radiators, because I just decide, you know what, it probably won't need it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to actually go fly right back into my ship and call it a day. And go ahead and grab onto them and hopefully point prograde in our orbital trajectory, and then just try to deorbit everything. So my plan here is to set it up into multiple maneuvers instead of doing one whole maneuver. This seemed to be the only way to really do it. If I was going to go from an error break from this point on, then they would have just burned up, and also the error break would have taken so long. I had set up a couple of attempts where I was error breaking to around 55,000 meters or something like that, and it just was taking a really long time. In fact, I ran out of disk storage at one point during one of these attempts because the attempt was taking close to around 5 hours. Yeah, it wasn't great. It really was not enjoyable. And imagine trying to do 5 hours, and every single time, okay, you can't just continue fast forwarding because you're going below the 70,000 meter mark, so you can't just continue fast forwarding through it. So every single time we went beyond the atmosphere, I had to come back to the game and fast forward again, and it was very, very annoying. But here we are, going to go ahead and try to get ourselves pretty close. I think I go for around 100,000 meters here, and as you can see right away, the ship starts to go away from me, and I'm like, I kind of want to stay close to you. So I try to zero out our meters per second compared to the target as much as I possibly can, and here we go, and time warp. And I'm just going to go ahead and watch as this thing goes away from me. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't go too far. I think at one point, maybe here, I get a little bit closer because we're reaching the periapsis. And then once we get to the periapsis, I'm going to go ahead and do another burn, and that's going to actually put us into an orbit. And then I also go ahead and deorbit both of them at the exact same time, and so forth. But you'll go ahead and see all of that. Something that'll be brought up later on, which was a big worry of mine, which luckily did not happen, but you'll go ahead and see what I mean pretty soon. So here we are, just getting closer to the target, getting ready for our next maneuver node. Well, our next maneuver, not really a node, but our next maneuver, which will be basically a deorbit burn. And it's also very finicky it's like super finicky trying to keep everything going in a straight line towards the target, because you guys, like, each vessel kind of has their micro orbit, you could almost say, where it's like very microscopically different. And after a long time, those differences are going to be massive. That's one reason why the ship, when we were fast forwarding, it ended up around 700 meters away from us. And it was just because of that micro orbit that's just slightly different than ours. If we were able to get the orbit exactly the same, which is super difficult, then we would have stayed really close to it. But in this case, there was a little bit of an error, which wasn't also that big of an issue. Like, it turned out perfectly fine. Also, this grab was super sketchy, and I didn't think it was good enough, so I go back out and go for another one too. And I think that even the next grab is pretty sketchy too. But I can't exactly remember. This was recorded like a week ago, so I think this one's actually going to be good. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good grab. So, the only problem is, though, is that we're still pretty high. We're actually pretty far away from our periapsis still. So, I'm actually going to be waiting a little bit before we get to our periapsis again. And in this case, I am going to go ahead and maneuver to our antigrade, or... Jeez, what is... Why did I forget the name of this right now? Well, anyway, we are going against prograde. I can't fathom how I forgot the name of this right now, but we're going to go ahead and do our deorbital burn really, really soon. I think at this point as well, I don't know if I actually toned up the thruster or not, but I am going to go ahead and do that really soon, because I kind of realized, wow, we're not losing any speed. But at this point, I'm just trying to thrust into the ship just so that way we stay sucked into it. And that's really all I'm doing here. And just making sure the target's still 0, and it is, so we're totally fine. It also, looking at the screen when you're doing something like this without a porting or anything like that, is super bad. As you can see, the descending and encounter stuff is just going all over the place. So I tried to not look at that as much as I could. And in this case, I'm actually using the thrust limiter to increase thrust as we go, just so that way it's a little bit finer tuned. And then in this case, I'm going to be going to go ahead and full blast really soon. Actually, maybe not full blast. I don't want to lose contact with the other ship, which doesn't actually happen, so that's good. The grabber was big enough, so pretty successful, I'd say. And as you can see, we're just decreasing our apoapsis really by a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and go for an apoapsis of around, I think it was around 50,000 meters or so. Maybe it was actually even 60. I don't think it was that high, though. But we will see. I'm also slowing down just a little bit. Okay, let's go and see what I do, because I can't even remember. So there's 60,000. Okay, so I'm going for around 55,000. Okay, that's what I kind of thought. But it was more around 53,000, and that's fine. That's not too big of an issue. And in this case, I wanted to... So something that I was worried about is if both of these vessels are going into the atmosphere at the exact same time, how am I going to control both of them? So I was just like, okay, we're going to go ahead and detach... well, not even really a detach, because we're never attached, but go ahead and degrab it, and then we're going to go ahead and just zip right by, deorbit this thing as soon as we possibly can, try to get this thing landed onto the surface, and then switch vehicles. So I go ahead and burn away and try to get ourselves into a nice little deorbit. And I'm going to go ahead and stage, as you can see right there. And this was actually kind of something a little bit interesting, because we have so much mass here. We actually do, I mean, it heats up a good amount. Nothing bad happens, but it heats up a good amount, and it was kind of cool to see. I also don't know why those triangles started appearing, but they did, and it seemed to be some sort of like physics-based thing, like in the debug mode or something, because they seem to get bigger the more we reach the atmosphere. I'm not really too sure what it was. It seemed like maybe it was debugging for drag. I think that's what it was. But so here we are, entering the atmosphere, burning up, getting probably pretty toasty here for Bill, but he's doing perfectly fine. His electric charge fine too. So he actually has a little bit of control on what the vessel's doing. But yeah, there's really nothing too spectacular except for the fact that the module is heating up, which is kind of terrifying. And I think it actually gets pretty hot. I actually was getting really worried about this because of how much time I had spent into this. I really did not want to have to do this mission once again, but everything seemed to be okay. Started cooling down. We started heading into thicker parts of the atmosphere, so it seemed like everything was going to be okay. And I go ahead and try to stage, and I'm going to have to go ahead and wiggle ourselves free because it just wanted to stay attached. And eventually, there we go. So I'm able to wiggle ourselves free, and it just goes continue flying by. I also went ahead and put two of these parachutes on as well. I was honestly a little paranoid about the weight of the decoupler. Now that I think about it, that's kind of sad to say, but yeah. So everything here though goes pretty well. Go ahead and fast forward time and make sure everything's landed. I also at this point was like really stressing. I was like, oh man, the other ship's probably already entering the atmosphere. Like, let's try to speed this up. And then afterwards I was thinking, wait a moment, if I had sped up time here, then that means that the other ship would have been experiencing sped up time. So really, I'm not saving time at all. So yeah, I just try to land on the surface as quickly as I possibly can. I thought I sped this up even more so. I guess not. I also try to look for like something, maybe trying to see if it was still above us, but I couldn't see anything. I also go ahead and check it, but it seems to be doing fine. It's entering the altitude, it's entering the atmosphere just a little bit, but it's only around 60,000 meters out, so should be fine. And as you can see, I'm getting prepared to recover this vessel. Go ahead and time warp again. And it's around 62,000 meters now. So it's not making too much progress. It's a pretty slow gradual deceleration. And let's go ahead and recover this vessel. And we don't really get much for this. I think we might get a little bit of science, but not much. Didn't even matter. Blew right past it. And here we go. Let's see here. All right, so how's this going to go? I think this goes pretty well. So Bob and Valentina having a fantastic time. Both of them enjoying every moment of it, which is great. Because honestly, this could have been their very last orbit around Kerbin. But hopefully it's not. I also was really worried too about this landing being done in nighttime. But luckily that was not the case. But as you can see, the periapsis is getting really close to nighttime. So I was worried that I was going to actually lose solar power because I wanted to make sure that I always had some sort of electric charge so that way I can use SAS. But honestly, I probably didn't even need SAS with the two scaffolding that I added. The other nice thing is that the triangles are gone. I have no clue what caused that. I don't know if I hit something. I have no clue. But here we are going through the atmosphere. Everything seems to be going okay. I am just kind of focused on electric charge and the bladder as well, just so that way, knowing if that's going to be a problem or not. It doesn't look like it's going to be a problem at this point. It seems like everything's doing pretty good. Like losing 13, not really that much. So everything seems to be okay. Everybody is happy. Everybody's good. And yeah, so really no complaints there. No G-forces really being experienced. We're losing a lot of altitude pretty fast. Even though we're still going really fast. I actually was beginning to worry that the scaffolding wasn't actually going to do its job either, just because of how fast we were going and the amount of mass that this ship has. The amount of mass that this ship has is really kind of deceptive, I almost want to say. I don't think that the extra space for Valentina, at least what Valentina's in right now, I feel like that fuselage shouldn't weigh as much as it does, but it weighs quite a lot. I also just go ahead and check to see if we're over water or terrain right then. That's why I went ahead and flipped that to see if there was a massive difference. There wasn't, because it was kind of beginning to hard to tell to see if we were over water or land. And honestly, whenever landing over land, it's always worrying to me because there could be just a random mountain that you just plummet right into because there's a massive change in altitude. But nothing to really worry about in this case, as we were still over the ocean. But yeah, as you can see, this aero brake was actually pretty intense as well, because we're still going around 1,500 meters per second at 25,000 meters. And at this point, I also noticed that we're losing less of the bladder as well, and so I'm kind of feeling a little bit better about things. I think that this is actually going to be successful. But I'm still worried, though, because of how fast we're going at this point, too. But we do lose a tremendous amount of speed when we hit the more air. I also noticed that there's a little bit of land, too. So ideally, I would land before that. And looking at the trajectory, it also looks like I would be landing just before it, too. So I stopped worrying about it. There's a lot of worries that go through my mind when entering the atmosphere or something, and that's actually the reason why I popped these chutes so early, is just so that way we would not land on land. And I'm gonna go ahead and jettison that, but we're still going too fast, so it just gets sucked right back onto the capsule, which is fine. It doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, at this point, everything's going well. Actually, extremely well. And I, at this point, believe that we have done it. We have rescued Bob and Valentina successfully. They are back home. And so that way Bob, and look at Bob doing his dance. He's home. And that way Bob can go ahead and do some more missions for us in the future to gather some more science. And so we can continue our science empire that we currently have going on for us. And here we are, about 1,000 meters above the sea, and I was getting a little worried. Man, I was really worried about this whole thing, but I was worried at 1,000 meters because when the chute opened, it felt like it took ages for us to start decelerating. But, and with the footage sped up, it doesn't look like it took nearly as long. But it did. I promise you, it did. And let's go ahead and get the splashdown. There we go. Wonderful. And recover vessel, and let's go see all of the nice science that we've gathered. If it loads. There we go. There it is. So we've gathered 370 science earned from all of the missions that Bob has been on. So that puts us up to a grand total of 380. So fantastic. So thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys enjoyed this video and liked the sort of post-commentary style, please go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next one. And of course, if you guys are brand new to the channel and you guys like what you saw, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I appreciate you all, and I will see you guys in the next episode.